Great. Now, in today's session, we are going to discuss about fears. Okay. And this is going to be a very interesting session. You learn how to remove your fears. But before that, we need to understand what fears are. Okay. So the key learnings in today's session are going to be understanding the fears, where they come from, what are the different kinds of fears. Okay. Then distinguish between the good and the bad fears. Yes, fears are good as well. There are a lot of fears. In fact, the primary purpose of fear is to protect you. Yes, the primary function of fear is to protect you. The problem is when we become overprotective. Yeah, so that's the bad fear. So bad fears are not bad fears, they are overprotective fears which are hindering your progress. So we'll identify those and we'll try to remove them. Okay, so how to do that? That's going to be the topic of today's session. So we'll reframe the mind to overcome the bad fears. Great. So let's start. Let's dig in. So first we'll understand what is fear. Now fear is something which our mind has learned over millions of years. So this is one point that I am telling you since last so many days, that whatever your subconscious mind knows is not what you have learned in this life of around what 20-30 years that you have lived up till now. No, it has or it possesses the knowledge which you have gained since millions of years and which has been passed on to you through your genetics, through your genes, right? So whatever we know today is not what we have seen or what we have heard with our five senses, okay, or realized with other senses. What we know is deep down is the repository of last hundreds and thousands and lakhs and millions of years. Okay, so that's quite clear. So these fears have been built. They are a mechanism to save ourselves from imminent dangers. Okay. So now this session is going to be very interactive today. So tell me, how many of you have fear of heights? Okay. Just type yes or no. How many of you have fear of height? Anyone has fear of height here? No? No one is having fear of height. That's fantastic. So you all can come with me on the next visit that I'm going to take for bungee jumping, right? And sky jump. I did it in New Zealand some years back. It was fantastic. You know, you just fly around 15,000. We went up to 18,000 feet, you know, above the surface, and then we jumped from the plane. And it was fantastic, exhilarating experience. Whew, too good to explain. I'll share my video with you guys sometime. Excellent. So, are you going to come with me on my next trip to New Zealand or maybe South Africa, where we'll do that? Sky jump and bungee jumping. Who is going to come? Type yes. I like trekking. Trekking is okay. You just climb on the mountains, but your feet are still touching the ground. So you will not test the fear of heights unless you go to Mount Everest and you have to, you know, walk on those small paths and you have deep gorges on both sides. Then, of course, yes, but trekking is mid-level threat, you can say. Okay, great. So let's see. So what your fear does is basically it is a mechanism. Understand this. So we don't have to fear all our fears. Fears are good. Believe me, fears are good for us. All fears are good for us. The bad fears are overprotective fears. But every fear is to protect us from an imminent threat or danger. So why does the fear of heights come? Because we can fall. Of course, we are not Spider-Man. We don't have those, springs in our hand. strings, I mean, and we don't have even the feathers, like a bird. So obviously, if I go too close to a cliff, or the top of the building, I have a danger of falling and death, obviously. So therefore, what fear is? Fear is a mechanism. It's a circuit in your mind, okay, a learning inside your mind, which is triggered. We have studied these triggers. We have studied the rhythms. We have studied about the circuits, of neurons. So this circuit is activated and it takes an action. So actions are pre-fed. They are learned over millions of years. So what is the action? Action can be of three types that we'll see in the next slide. Fight, flight, or freeze. These are the three actions which are activated by your mind when it sees an imminent danger and it protects you. So subconscious mind's primary activity is to protect us. Okay. So how do we protect ourselves? By going into any of these three actions. Fight, flight means run away from there. If a tiger is standing in front of you, obviously what you'll do, you'll not go and fight it, you'll run away. Okay. But if your friend is fighting with you and he has a maybe sword in his hand or something, then you'll try to protect yourself, you'll try to fight. So fight is one action, flight is the second action, and freeze. So when I come close to a cliff or I come close to the parameter of that building, what happens is that I freeze, my legs get freezed. I can't just walk. And this thing happens with people who walk on those sky bridges. There are sky bridges, glass sky bridges. You must have seen those videos. So you start from somewhere and then as it's glass, you see below, everything below means the whole gorge you can see and the river deep down. So your mind freezes and your hands and your feet, they get cold, they just freeze. You cannot just move even an inch. So that's called as freezing effect. So all these are done to protect you. Understood? So make your fears your friends. Okay. Don't try to be overwhelmed by your fears. They are good for you. So first understanding of fear is they are good for me. Great. Now let's see further. Second point is very important, that they can be real or imagined. Fears can be real, fears can be imagined as well. Like I took the example of that glass skywalk. Is it a real threat? No, you're not going to fall because you are well protected. They made it, the engineers have made it quite safe. You will not fall, but still you get that fear because your eyes can see through the glass. Okay. And therefore the trigger is activated as if you are standing somewhere 200 feet above the earth. Okay. So you get the fear. So it is illusory. It is imagined fear. Same thing happens when we watch horror movies. It's just a movie. It's just a movie. It's fiction. Or you read those fiction books and then you get nightmares in the night. Okay. So what is that? It is imaginary fear, not a real fear. So fear is activated, and this thing also we have studied in the last sessions, that your mind, the subconscious mind, doesn't differentiate between the real and the imaginary, the illusion. Remember? Very good. So we'll use this to our advantage as well. Just wait for a few minutes. Okay, so this is one point. Then the fear serves a very important role in keeping us safe. Yes, that's the job of fear, to keep you safe. Okay. And it mobilizes different ways. That is the three things that I just talked about to cope with the potential danger. The fear is always of the unknown. The fear is of the future. The fear is of something that's going to happen. It has not happened right now. If something is happening, there is no fear. Like you are sitting in the exam hall and you have got the paper in your hand and the exam is begun, then the fear goes away. Then you have to fight. There is no other way. Okay, you cannot fear once you are in the exam hall and you have the paper in your hand. Fear is before going to the exam hall. What's going to happen? What type of questions are going to come today? That is the fear. Okay. Now, the feeling of fear, the emotion which is there, the strength of that emotion will depend upon three things. So this is the anatomy of fear. So we have to understand this, because whenever we face a situation tomorrow or day after that or anytime in future, you have to be sure about that fear, whether it is good or bad, and how to handle it. That's what we are going to learn today. Okay. So the first thing is, what is the feeling and how it comes? So it depends on three things. Number one, the intensity. Intensity means the severity of the harm that can happen. Like if I'm standing here, okay, and I'm standing on a, say, stone which is 1 feet in height. Okay, so I'll get fear of falling, of course. But is that fear the same as you will feel if you are standing on a cliff 400 feet high? Obviously not, right? So the intensity matters. Intensity of harm, the severity of harm that can be caused, okay, that will determine the intensity of those three feelings that will generate the three action points: fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. Second is the timing. Is the harm immediate or somewhere in the future? Like the fear of exams, is at its peak when the exam is the next day, right? So we don't get sleep the whole night. But if the exam is, say, 6 months down the line, will you have the same intensity of fear? No, of course not. Okay. So the timing. And third is the coping. Means what action can be taken to eliminate the threat. What action can be taken? So if some person is fighting with me verbally, then my threat perception is less. But if he has some arms in his hands, maybe a sword, maybe, some kind of a dangerous item in his hand, or maybe a gun, then of course my fear will be very high, because the strength of that fear will be high, because the danger is imminent, it is right now, and there's a high possibility or probability of danger. Okay, so these three things will determine the intensity of your fear. Next is presets. So this was what I was talking about, that what your mind will do when it sees that threat perception. So before going there, let's see the whole circuit. Okay, the circuit in the mind which will rotate, or what we also call as the system that will evolve. So first thing is that you will see something, you will hear something, yani ke 5 senses. So your 5 sense will send some information to your brain. Okay, that's the first thing, that's the starting point. Your brain will perceive that information, it will relate it to the past experiences, which can be your own experiences or which can be genetic, okay, experiences of millions of years. So it will connect with that. And if it sees a pattern, means this kind of an input had come last time also, and it had caused some kind of an injury. Say, for example, that when you start learning cycling, so you fall down. So the next time the cycle comes in your hand, you are already afraid that I'm going to again fall down. I'll fall down again. So what happens is that bicycle has become a trigger. When that input goes to your mind and it is connected with the past experience, the mind gives a reflect action. Freeze. Don't cycle again. But then somehow you overcome that fear. Your parents are there who will say, don't worry, just climb it. Nothing will happen. So with that faith, we climb again, and soon we'll start learning how to cycle. Okay, and then the fear is gone. So that is the anatomy of fear, how fear builds due to past experience. The pattern is already fit in your mind. So the new information is collated with that pattern and the trigger is activated. So the fear is activated, right? That's very good. So now 3 things can happen, 3 action points. These are presets, means automatic action will come. Either you will fight it, or you will take a flight, means you will run away, and that's good also. If there's an imminent danger, you can see, obviously what you'll do, run away. If you see an earthquake coming, you'll obviously run away from the buildings, or in the near vicinity of buildings. You will run away into the open ground. If you see a volcano erupting, you will obviously run away. If you see floods coming, you will obviously run away. Okay, because you cannot fight it. So things which cannot be fought, better to run. Yeah, be ready to run. Or if you are seeing some riots going on in your city, obviously what you'll do, run away from that place. It's better to run away. Okay. Third is freezing, as I told you. Fear of heights and all, it freezes your body. It doesn't let you take any action. Okay, so these are the 3 actions that may happen. Now coming to the 5 basic fears, the psychology says that there are 5 basic fears, so we'll understand them also, and then we'll see the real life fears that we face every day and how we can overcome those fears. So that is the important point for us to understand in this session. So first is the fear of extinction, that is fear of loss, heavy loss, like loss of life. You will get extinguished. Okay, extinction. And this is one of the major fears. So when you, again, a very good example I'll give you. Darkness. How many of you fear darkness? You have a fear of darkness? Everyone will say, okay, everyone has fear of darkness, including me. All of us. That is quite common. The most common fear is fear of darkness. You know why? The reason for fear of darkness is, and this example I have given you in one of the earlier sessions, if you remember, that we have been living in villages and small places for millions of years. We have seen electricity and city life only for the past 300-400 years. Okay, so before that it was all darkness, and in those times there used to be all those kinds of animals out there, dangerous animals. Okay, and they used to kill people in the night. So obviously our genetics has that overpowering experience of loss of life due to darkness. So therefore, anytime, even if you're sitting in your comfortable home on the 11th floor, the tiger cannot climb on the 11th floor, right? And the tiger doesn't come in the cities, though these days it comes, because we are entering their space, that is the jungle, so they are coming to the cities. But anyway, and there's no dinosaur today. But still, if the light goes off, if the electricity goes off, the first thing that happens is panic. The first thing, we just have that feeling, the panic. And then after a few seconds, then we cool down. But there is that instant impact of panic, as if somebody has, touched the panic button. That happens still today. The reason is because of that trigger which is there in our mind for millions of years. Okay. Now just tell me, how do you sleep at night? Do you sleep with open lights? Or do you switch off the lights and then go to sleep? Obviously we switch off the lights, right? So the same thing happens. There is complete darkness in the room, but you have a sound sleep. So how come you're not getting that fear at that time? If you're sitting on the couch watching a movie on the TV and the light goes off, we panic. And then after some time, we ourselves switch off the lights and go to sleep comfortably, relaxed. So how come 2 different action for the same trigger, that is darkness? Because of the perception. Darkness is the input which is going into my mind. But when I'm watching a movie or I'm awake fully and the darkness suddenly happens, it triggers panic. But when I close off the switch with an intention to go to sleep, a different action is originated. Your mind relaxes and it goes to sleep. So perception differs. Okay. So input is the same, but how you perceive it will differ, and therefore a different action. So this is very important for you to learn. And when we learn reframing of mind, we'll do exactly the same thing. That for the same trigger, the mind has to be trained to take a different action. That is how you are going to overcome your fears. Right? So whether it is fear of heights, whether it is fear of motion, whether it is fear of darkness, whether it is fear of loss, whether it is fear of public speaking, anything, you can overcome it by creating a different pattern in your mind. Great. So one is extinction. The second is mutilation. Mutilation means injury, any bodily injury. So when I cycle, I have got, when we used to learn cycling, or we used to learn the motorcycle for the first time, that fear was there, fear of falling down and injuring yourself. Or the women folk, they normally have the fear, of all kinds of sexual assaults. So that is called as the fear of mutilation. Third is the loss of autonomy. We all love our freedom, right? And whenever there is a threat to our freedom, there is a fear. Like, I used to have this big fear, and I still have the fear of joining any company as an employee. It's a simple thing. You can join for a job, but I don't go. I have the fear that I lose my autonomy. I lose my freedom of work, deciding how to work and where to work and what to work. Okay. This is the same fear which people face when they're about to get married, because marriage is a big responsibility. Then you are tied up with somebody. So you lose your freedom, or at least half of your freedom. Okay. So that's a fear that comes there. So that is called as loss of autonomy. You are feeling entrapped, imprisoned, okay, restricted, paralyzed. Then the opposite is fear of separation. So this is another fear. Fear of abandonment. People will leave me. So when you are in a relationship, and even if it is a bad relationship, you keep suffering just because of the fear of loss of that person. Then what if that person goes away? I'll be alone. I'll be abandoned. And therefore you continue in that relationship. So you face all troubles, you face all problems, but still you will continue in that relationship. So that's not good for you. Okay. So you have to remove the fear. I'm not saying go and get divorced today. Okay. So abandonment, rejection. So most of us, we know, we don't pursue our best efforts, or we don't pursue our love or our passion just with the fear of rejection. What if I get rejected? People don't go and propose their loves in their life, your girlfriend or boyfriend, as the case may be. You don't propose just because of the fear of rejection. What if she says no? My heart will be broken, into pieces. So I'll not go. I'll not tell. And what happens because of that? Somebody else tells her that he loves her and she accepts that. And anyways, my heart is broken. So before anyone else breaks your heart, it's good to break our heart ourselves, So fear of rejection, loss of connectedness, becoming a non-person, becoming not wanted. These are the heights of that fear. Not wanted. Nobody needs me. Nobody wants me. Nobody loves me. All that kind of fear is there. Or respect. Nobody respects me. Okay. So these are the worst kind of fears that you can have, and we need to remove them because they are not for your protection. These are bad fears. Then ego death. We all have our egos. That concept of I is very important for us. And therefore, there's a fear of humiliation. What if people humiliate me? What if they shame me? So all the people with extra weight, they always have that fear, that body fear, the shame, that people will shame me. People will call me fat, or people may call me thin. I get that comment every time. You have become very thin. Now what's thin? I'm fit, man. I'm good. But people call me thin, then people call someone fat. What's this nonsense? So all these fears are also bad fears. We need to remove them. Great. Then, okay, so that's not it. Then another 10 fears I'll tell you which hold us back from realizing our full potential in life. So these are also bad fears. We need to remove them. Okay. So only those fears are good which are to protect us. All other fears are bad. We need to remove them. So there are a lot of these fears. Fear of change. And this is one thing which, restricts us from improving in our lives, getting more opportunities, and, tapping more opportunities and becoming more successful. We ourselves are our biggest enemies in life. And fear of change is one of them. So what happens is that when we get something in life, like you get a first job and you are well paid, and then you make a lifestyle according to the salary that you're getting, and you get accustomed to it. So once you get accustomed to something, what happens is that you fear change. Now, I don't want to change. This is a good job. I'm having good people around me. They are all my friends. They are my colleagues. I can talk to them. They talk to me about their problems. I can share my problems. So I don't want to leave this company, company as a company and company as your colleagues. I don't want to leave this. So where the growth will come from? There are so many opportunities out there, but you're losing them just because you fear change. And there are a lot of changes that you need to bring in your life. Change in your learnings, change in your environment, change in your colleagues, change in your company, change in your business line. A lot of changes are required to get, success. Number 2, loneliness. Of course, then failure. Fear of failure is another big failure that we need to remove. People have said, a lot of luminaries and, great thinkers, that the biggest fear is the fear itself. So that's very bad. So you just cannot fear failure. Failure is a stepping stone to success, as they always say. And I believe in that. So the concept of startups basically means fail fast, learn fast. Fail as many number of times as you can. And I had given one example to you guys in one of the earlier sessions. The Netflix CEO, he told us, the new CEO came into Netflix, and he told his employees out there that we are not failing enough. When he studied all the reports about all the teams that were working, and he said that we are not failing. We are successful in all the things that we are doing. That's very bad. Means we are not taking bigger risks. So there has to be failure in any organization to grow. Because if there is no failure, means you are not taking bigger risk, means you will be outdated soon. You'll be outclassed. You are not going to face the competition in the future. So that's very important. Fear of failure has to be removed. Fail fast. Fail as many number of times as you can. But learn from each failure and improve yourself. Rejection. Of course, I gave an example of that. Uncertainty. These are uncertain times. So why to take risk? So fear of uncertainty means fear of taking risks. Very bad. Then something bad happening. If I do this, something very bad will happen to me. Where is it going to happen? Has it happened? If not, why are you fearing? Getting hurt. Getting hurt means emotionally, psychologically, as well as physically. It can be anything. So when you are riding a bike, you have the fear of getting hurt. When you are talking or making a friend, you have a fear of losing him. So you'll be hurt, inside, psychologically, mentally, emotionally. Then being judged, fear of being judged. If I wear this suit, somebody will judge me. They'll say that this is not good. What color is she wearing? All those kinds of things. So women normally have this problem of being judged. Then inadequacy. I'm not good enough. This is the worst fear. I'm not good enough. Everyone is not good enough. See, at the start, everyone is zero. So if I talk about Elon Musk today, and if I compare myself with him, I will not compare him right now. I'll compare myself with him 20 years back when he started. I'm starting. So I should compare him when he started. How many mistakes did he did? 15,000 mistakes. I have done only 150 right now. I'm good. I'm better than Elon Musk. That's how you compare. So you don't compare with somebody who is already at the top. When you will reach the top, then compare. But not before that. So wrong comparison will lead to fears. So inadequacy is very bad. Never consider yourself inadequate. You are absolutely made to do that thing. The point is, fail fast, learn fast, improve, and you will become adequate. And loss of freedom, of course, which I talked about earlier. So these are the fears which are daily life fears, you can say, which we face in our day-to-day life and which we need to improve on. We need to fight them and improve. Okay. Yes, Faisal, I'll take your question later on. So let's see now at the last that how do we reframe our mind to, fight the fear itself. So first thing you do is acknowledge your fears. The worst thing is to run away from fear. So look at your fear. And the way to do that, in neuro-linguistic programming, which I'll talk later on also, what we are taught is that you detach from yourself. That this is Faruka. So I get out of myself. I means the real me, the soul. I get out of myself, my intellectual self, get out and look at my physical self. So my intellectual self, my subconscious, will look at myself, the physical self, and see what is the problem with this guy. Okay. So he's facing some fear. So the number one thing you have to do is acknowledge that, yes, I am in fear. When people say, are you in fear? Like you are taking your first class as a teacher, or you are given some assignment and you have to present it before your class, as a student, or in front of your office staff, or in front of your boss, so we get that fear. There's a churning in the stomach, we start sweating, and there are a lot of other things, that all the symptoms of fear are there. And somebody asks you, are you having fear? You'll say, no. Where is the fear? I'm not fearing. That's the worst thing you can do. Accept, acknowledge that, yes, I am in the grip of fear right now. Okay? Acknowledge. Number two, once you've acknowledged, analyze whether it is good or bad fear. So if you're standing on the edge of the cliff, and there's a 500 meters cliff, and there is rocks down there, and somebody says, are you fearing? No, I'm enjoying. Yeah, let's see, let's jump, I'll fly. Don't do that. So that's the right fear. You're getting that freezing, that's the right fear. Accept it, get back, because you're going to get yourself hurt. Okay? Or what you guys do when you race your bikes on the busy roads, that's a very bad thing. The fear is there, accept it, acknowledge it, take a step back. Okay? So that's a good fear. And then when you analyze that this is a wrong fear, I am just going on the stage and speaking for the first time. I don't need to worry. I don't need fear. This is the wrong fear. So then you uplift yourself. Tackle that fear, remove that fear. So analyze whether it's good or bad. Third, whether it is affecting your progress in life. If yes, then that has actually become a phobia. So there is difference in fear and phobia as well. So fear is the starting point, where sometimes you get low intensity fear. Like you'll have just some churn in your stomach, that okay. And then you relax yourself and you go out on the stage and you perform excellently. So that kind of fear is always there. Just ignore it. No problem. But sometimes what happens is that these fears cripple us. They grow to such an extent that they cripple us. It affects our progress. We stop talking to people. We stop expressing ourselves. We live a very burdened life, a struggle life. That's not good. So identify whether it is affecting your progress in life. If yes, then we have to do something about it, right? We cannot just let it go. And identify the root cause of that fear and the trigger. Two very important points. Root cause, what is causing this fear, and what is the trigger? So for example, the root cause can be a relationship, but the trigger can be some words which he or she speaks, and then it causes that panic action. Okay. So what is the trigger which is causing that, the circuit to break, and what is the root cause? Identify these 2 points. Like I said, the threat of or fear of heights. So what is the root cause? The falling down. You may fall down. That is the root cause. What is the trigger? Lift. So when you stand in the lift and somebody has pressed 30-second floor, you suddenly start panicking. Why this lift is going so high. So there is a trigger and there is a root cause. You have to understand that. So root cause will tell you whether it is good or bad. And the trigger, then we can change the trigger. If it is bad, we can change the trigger. Okay. So if my office is on the 32nd floor and I'm not going to fall, there are glass windows and I'm not going to fall. So it's not a cliff. So you have to train your mind and remove that trigger. Right? Great. So now let's see what we will do. So once you have done this, this is the anatomy of the fear. Once you have analyzed the anatomy and you understand where the fear is coming from, what is causing the trigger, then what you'll do is you can take two action to remove this bad fear. Number one, immediate relief, and number two, long-term relief. So for the immediate relief, what you do is deep breathing. So whenever that fear strikes and you get that cramps in your stomach or cramps in your feet or your hands, and either you are trying to fly, means go away. So you look at the people in the stadium and you suddenly feel like running away from there instead of playing the game or going and speaking out there. So it is causing that panic action. So what you do is deep breathing. Relax yourself. Okay. Number two, exercise. Do some kind of exercise, physical activity. So you do any physical activity. And this is something which is done by big speakers. Even those speakers who have spoken out there for 20 years and 30 years in life. Like I've been speaking in front of public for 25, 26 years now. But still, when I go to some new place, new audience, I get that feeling. I get that sweat. Okay. So what I do is I exercise. So do just relaxing exercises, stretching exercises basically off stage before you enter the stage. Okay. So do that. Do some exercise, go in the washroom, do some exercises, and then go out there. So when you do exercises, what happens is that your negative energy is removed and positive energy builds up. Okay. So that's important. Or there is a 3+3+3 technique. Okay. So what you do is, actually it's called as 3-2-1. So what you do is look at three different things, and identify them. Like this is the camera. Yeah, this is the light. And this is the glass window. So look at three things and identify them. Call them out if possible, or call them in your mind. I see three things. Then I feel three things. Okay, so I'm feeling my hand, or I'm touching the ground, so I can feel the ground. Okay. And I can feel something else, maybe just hold something, or maybe some shirt or your pen or mobile phone, whatever you're holding, just feel it. So feel three things. Okay. And hear three things, three sounds. You can hear any three sounds. Then again do it for 2 times. See 2 things, hear 2 things, and feel 2 things. And then next time 1, 1, 1. Okay. So seeing, hearing, and feeling 3 things, then 2 things, then 1 thing. Your fear will be gone. So what you're doing here is, that mind has gone into a circuit, right? Subconscious mind has gone into a circuit. So it is not listening to your conscious. So what you do is, since you are taking back the control of your mind to your conscious mind. That is the front mind. From subconscious, it gets back to conscious mind, because senses operate in conscious mind. So when you are feeling these 3 senses, what happens is that the circuit is broken and you get peaceful again. So these are immediate relief, a few examples. Then going on for long-term relief. So one is the mindfulness meditation that I have taught you. So you do that to remove all those fears, subconsciously you have to remove them, and all the triggers, you have to remove them, let go of them, and build positive triggers. Second is anchor reframing. This also I have taught you in earlier sessions. What is the anchor which is causing this trigger? Okay, remove that. Like I said, that there is a friend whom you don't like, and when he comes in front of you, you have that anger, anxiety, stress, fear, coming up. So you look at him, but at the same time, in your mind, create a new image, or bring an image of a beautiful person who gives you good vibes. So look at that person whom you don't like, and see the image of person whom you like. So over time, if you do this continuously for 2, 3, 4, 6 times, then that person's image will not trigger the same emotions. Okay, the same fear. So fear is an emotion. So anchor reframing. And if it doesn't work, go for counseling. Okay, so you can counsel any psychologist or psychiatrist for that matter, if it is of that level that you are unable to deal with it yourself. But I think you will be. So that's the thing. That's how we have to reframe our mind to solve our fears, because fear is deep down in a subconscious mind. The only way to deal with it is no medication. So there are a lot of medications out there. There are a lot of hormonal medications. Don't go for them. They just give you temporary relief. Okay, adrenaline and serotonin and all those tablets are there. Don't go for that. Reframe your mind from inside. Reframe your subconscious mind. Remove those triggers, and the fear will be gone forever. Okay, and be more positive, be more confident. That's it. And the last point, which is given in the first point out there on the slide: head on. Face your fears head on. Build your confidence. Whatever comes, I will fight and not flight. Okay, so if you build that attitude, you need that attitudinal change also to fight all your fears. Who is there to listen to me? Oh, all these guys, I'm better than them. Just build that confidence. You know, somebody has said that confidence sells more than anything else in life. If you're confident, then people will hear you and they will be impressed by you, even if you are speaking a wrong thing. And that's a fact. And I've tried this in my lectures. Yes, I used to tell wrong things to students and then just check whether they believe in me or not. And they used to believe. And then I used to stop them saying that, is this right? And then they would awake. Huh? But sir, you said so. We thought that it is right. So that's the response that I would get. So that's confidence. When you speak with confidence, people will listen to you and they will accept what you are saying as true. So do that. Build confidence and fight all your fears. So that's it for today. We'll continue in the next session tomorrow.